for our Spring 2015 Convocation. This is one of my favorite times because I get to look at all of you at once, and how exciting when we're starting a new semester. We always talk about this great profession that we have. Not only do we get to work with students and hopefully help change lives, but we get to start over again every semester. So if things didn't quite go the way we thought they should, we have a chance to improve and continually make it better. And so this is our opportunity to start this semester anew and to see what we can do to help make things a little bit better. And speaking of that, if you recall, last fall, after the fall convocation, we sent out, the Organizational Development Office sent out sort of a survey to all of you and said, okay, we've been having convocation, we've tried to improve it each time, but we need input from you because this meeting needs to be productive and enjoyable for you. And so we asked, what are the parts of convocation that are working well for you, that you like, and what tweaks or what changes would you like to see happen? So we took that information, and we will have some changes in this program today that reflect the ones that you've asked. We're trying to improve. There'll be some things that'll be the same, because some of you said, don't change this. Some of the things kind of went both ways. So for instance, some people liked brunch afterwards. Some people said, I really want lunch. So today you're going to have lunch, and next fall we're going to have brunch. See if we can please both. So one of the things that will remain the same is we have our wonderful student ambassadors who are going to pass the clipboards with the orange sheets for you to be able to sign in very quietly and quickly so that we know who was here. Nobody had to stand in line to sign up. And so that'll just happen sort of during the program. So as we get started today, I want to ask you to watch just a very short video, and then I just have a few remarks before we get the program off and going. Let me get mine.
You don't get in a car just to see where it goes. You don't pick up a paintbrush to make some random strokes. You don't build a house without a plan. You don't make a cake just to throw in the trash can. You begin with the end in mind. Don't sit and wonder what you will find. You must make a plan to lead the way, so in the end you can finally say that it's good.
All right. Thanks. So perhaps you're familiar with this term, begin with the end in mind. Those of you who have read Stephen Covey know that that's one of the 7 habits of highly effective people. So why am I bringing that up today? I'm going to ask for your help to help our students understand this. Many of our students come to Eastfield and just sort of start taking courses. They take 1 or 2, sometimes 3, but not too often, more than that. And they just sort of say, I need to go to college. And yeah, they want to get a degree, and they want more options, and they want to be able to do well in their profession. But they don't necessarily have a specific end in mind. They don't necessarily know what major. They are moving further. They don't know for sure when they want to complete this. They don't even realize that if they just come and take 1 course at a time, it'll take them 10 years to get an associate's degree. Even if they take 2 courses at a time, assuming they don't stop out any time, it'll take them 5 years. Have they thought Many of them haven't. They're just coming to take one step at a time towards sort of an undefined goal. What I'm asking you to do is to help them to figure out what their end is, and then let their plan step backwards to where they are now, so that they've got a specific plan to get them to their end. If you recall, our theme this year is connection. I need you to be the connection. I need everyone here to be the connection between the student and helping the student find his or her goal. Help them connect with the services that are on this campus in order to get to that goal. What we want is for our students to be successful in achieving their goal. For most of them, the goal is some kind of a credential, an associate's degree, perhaps a certificate. And so let me show you something about our completion, about our students and their goals and whether they have been completing. This is graduation here for the last few years. On the left, you'll see that in 2010-2011, we had 1,111 graduates. Then the next year, we had a few more, 1,162. But we were growing pretty dramatically during these years. The year after that, we had 1,161. We were not helping our students to get to that end goal very quickly. Well, we took a really big jump this year. We've got about 750 more students, a very good thing, so that this year we have 1,902. So we've helped a lot more students to get to their end goal. But that's still not enough. When you look at the number of students we have, to have 1,900 that graduated last year or that got their certificate, that's not helping our students get to that end goal, at least not very quickly. So we've set ourselves some targets to help students get to their goal. And so for this year, we'd like 2,500 students to be able to get to their goal. You think that's doable? It's going to take you all. It's not just going to be faculty. It's not just admissions advising. It's everybody who talks to students. Tell me about your goal. Tell me about your educational goal. Have you made a plan? Well, when do you think you might get that goal? Just conversations will help students to reflect on, well, let me think. When do I want to have that goal achieved? In 2 years. Oh, okay. How many hours are you taking? Oh, I'm taking one course. Right? You will be able to help them. 2,500 this year. Well, that's not as big a jump as it was from 2013 to 14, up to from 12-13 to 13-14. We ought to be able to do that. But then we're not done. We must keep helping our students. In a couple of years after that, we need probably to get to about 3,700. With our ultimate goal, when we get to 2020, we need at least 5,000 students of our enrollment, and we assume the enrollment will continue to grow. That's not going to happen without every one of us helping students begin with the end in mind. Right? You with us? All right, that's terrific. All right. We have some new employees who are going to help us, help students get to their educational goal. It's always fun to see our new employees and let you meet them. So I'm going to ask Vice Presidents Douglas, Wilson, and Gutierrez, and Executive Director of the Pleasant Grove campus, Javier Alhin, to come up and introduce new employees in their areas.
Business Services would like to welcome to our Facilities Department several employees. We have Joshua Everett. Joshua, will you please stand so we can see you? Bruce Mance. Joseph Ricciardi. and William Rubiski. Thank you. Welcome to Eastfield.
Joining us in the Organizational Planning and Development Division are Veronica Carrion in Resources Development. And then we have 3 employees joining us in Institutional Research. Dr. Gail Caruth, Nicole Hahn, and Dr. Ayankunle Taiwo.
Good morning, everyone. In the areas of academic affairs and student success, we have James Ashcraft, Coordinator in Media. Shanita Bowles, Academic Advisor in Continuing Education. Iman Carrington, Academic Advisor in Student Services. Liza Conley, Admissions Specialist. Joe Dana, Temporary Full-Time Faculty in Career and Technology. Kim Escamilla DeWitt, Senior Academic Advisor. Kylie Dowling.
There's Kim DeWitt. Sorry, these people were back. There's Kim DeWitt.
We'll adjust.
There is Kylie Dowling.
Kylie Dowling, Branch Program Coordinator at CE. Jamie Green, Dean of E-Learning. Mira Jimenez, Admissions Specialist. Danielle Johnson, Director of Marketing and Recruitment. Krista Jones, Director of Workforce. Christina Manzi, Temporary Full-Time Faculty, Philosophy. Angelica Peterson, College Video Filmmaker and Media. Aisha Saeed, Academic Advisor, Student Services. Amber Sellers, Academic Advisor. Lauren Schaefer, Graphic Designer and Graphics. Sally Stewart, Department Assistant in Advising. Philip Suderman, Temporary Full-Time Faculty, Career Technology. Jacob Villegas, Lab Assistant in STEM. Tanya Marbury Wilson, Assistant Director, Academic Advising. Last but not least, Lakeisha Wooten, Program Coordinator, Rising Star.
There she is. From Pleasant Grove, a graduate of Eastfield College, resident of the Pleasant Grove area, we welcome Michelle Loomis. Michelle.
We're delighted to have all of these new employees to help us in our quest to help our students to have better lives. And speaking of helping our students to have better lives, I'm so excited to be able to introduce our Chancellor, Dr. Joe May, who's going to talk to you a little bit about a little bit broader areas of the district and the community. Dr. May, is, as you know, has been with us almost a year, and he came from Louisiana, where he led the whole state system, and came to Dallas to lead our system. And how thrilled we were to have him, and how he continues to bring his energy and his insight and his ideas about partnerships and working with public and private organizations to help us, to help our students even more. He's very pragmatic and works very well with our community in order for them to understand our mission so that they too can help us help our students be more successful. So please help me welcome Dr. Joe May.
Grab this one. Good morning. It's great to see everyone. It's great to be at Eastville College, and it always gets me excited as I think about the start of a new year, the opportunity to have an impact on so many lives, and I just want to thank each of you for what you do. As I was thinking about today, one of my favorite things to do is to read to my grandchildren. Any of you have grandchildren? That's great. And I was recently reading to my two granddaughters, Ellie and Olive, a book that suddenly it took me back in time because I remember reading the very same book to my daughter a couple of decades back. And there was one particular point in that book where it made the statement. It said that we need to treat others like they have a sign around their neck that says, "I'm a very important person." And I remember when I was reading that to my daughter, she said, "Daddy, let's go make some signs and give to people because everyone needs to feel important, right?" And they do. And let me tell you, being a part of community colleges, I've always known we're important. I've always known what we do is very important to individuals, to our employers, to our communities. But you know, somehow it makes you feel a little more proud when one of the most important people in the world stands up and says community colleges are important, right? Well, recently, as of 1 week ago today, the President of the United States stands before America on the community college campuses and announces that community colleges are so important to individuals, to our communities, to growing a strong and vibrant nation and building an economy, that we need to do some things differently. And I have to tell you, I think it was a brilliant suggestion. Let's find a way to make community colleges free to every American, to make that opportunity available to everyone, regardless of their economic background, regardless of need. Now, a bold step that's going to, this picture was taken here at Eastville, wasn't it? When the president was on campus. He's visited community colleges, but in support of that. But let me tell you, what that really is talking about is something that goes beyond important. It really gets to the very heart of us building a strong middle class, having the type of population that we need to be able to continue to grow and prosper in the years ahead. So as we look at this, starting today, starting this year, it makes me feel even more proud of what we're about and how important each of you are to making sure that we meet the needs of our community and support our students in the future. And I want to share with you today, and here are just a few of the articles that continue to come out as people are weighing in. And one of the interesting things about this particular announcement is actually generating some bipartisan support as we see individuals setting politics aside and saying, you know what, it really is about people. It really is about the economy, it's about the quality of life and how we can go forward. And as I began thinking about that today, and coming together, part of what he also said, however, community colleges, we're going to look at you and doing some things even more than you've done in the past. As we look at trying to encourage more people to come in the doors of community colleges, we want to make sure that more people get out the back door with a high-quality credential, degree, award, certificate. Dr. Conway, just as you talked about earlier today, that really has to be what we're focusing on. And I just want to share a few thoughts with you as I look across the district of why this is important that we continue to grow and make this happen. We all know right now that Texas is in an economic boom. In fact, of all the new jobs created in the nation this year, a quarter of them occurred in the state of Texas. We're seeing Dallas and the greater North Texas metro area grow at about a population growth of 2.5% a year. Mayor Mike Rawlings of Dallas tells me that each week, 845 people are moving into our area. That's a lot of people, and that's a lot of growth. So over the past 2 years, we've seen the population grow by about 5%. At the same time, we've seen something occur that's troubling to me and problematic, and that's the growth of poverty. It's growing over that same period of time at a 41% rate, meaning that what has happened, that people have lost middle-class jobs and moved into poverty. At the same time, we're seeing an explosion of economic growth. How could that happen? That's not supposed to be the way it works, but that's exactly what's occurring. And that's exactly the problem that the president is talking about when he says we have to get more people in the doors of community colleges because of one fact. Historically, we saw that education not necessarily was for everyone. Today, it absolutely has to be for everyone. Every single person in our community. And so we've been talking about within the district, and I've talked about this some, that our competition are not other colleges or universities. Our competition are what we call non-consumers of higher education. That's people out there not buying what we're selling. Don't understand the connection between education and a better life, education and a great job, education and a stronger community, and a better family life, and everything that goes with it. So we've got to find a way to bring individuals into our doors so that everyone can have a chance for the American dream. Everyone can have a chance to benefit. And that's really what we're about, and that's what the announcement is really about for providing free tuition. It's about saying that that's a means to an end, not an end to itself. And that's what we have to engage in as colleges. And so as I think about the upcoming months and years as we engage in this work, obviously we're going to need to continue what we're doing. We need to continue to focus on student success. But I need you to also think about a few other things. I want to talk to you today about what I'm seeing as kind of the building blocks for going forward as we do a better job of meeting the needs of individuals, our community, and certainly the employers that we support. Those three are alignment, personalization, and scale. And let me just take a minute and talk about each of those as I see it impacting what you and I do every day. The first is alignment. Now, when obviously we all want to be pulling in the same direction. We're part of a similar team. But let me take it a little bit further as to what I'm really talking about here. And this is how do we do a better job of aligning what we're doing with others. This is really about taking an outside-in view, looking externally to see how well we're aligned, not just internally within our organization. And there's a number of people that we've always worked with and aligned our programs and services. K-12 goes back to the very founding of the college, that we work closely with our K-12 partners. Universities, we've had that relationship that allows students to start out here and transfer to a four-year institution. Career pathways has been a new term that we've used that really aligns us better with the world of work, and of course making sure that we're meeting the needs of employees. I've been here and met with many members of your advisory committees in the past as we have those conversations. And finally, one that we don't often talk about is economic development, and that's really about building the wealth in our community. That's the role of economic growth and economic development. And just a couple of thoughts on each of these, because we've always had very good K-12 partnerships, right? We've engaged right now in early college high schools, do enrollment programs. We work with them, with our advisors and counselors to come together, and it's pretty good. But I have to tell you, we've got to find a way in the future to make it not just pretty good, but nearly perfect. Because we're still seeing way too many students who need to come into our programs not able to take advantage of it. The same is true with universities. We've got all kinds of great articulation and transfer agreements, But I got to tell you, it bothers me that they're good but not perfect, because on average, a student transferring with an associate degree right now from one of our 7 colleges loses between 21 and 24 hours on transfer. As we look at those relationships, and that's when we think we've worked it out perfectly today, that we've got to really take that one on and make sure that the students aren't paying twice for the same course. That's the most expensive course a student can take, and one that I believe we can work and do something about as we go forward. Career pathways. As we look at this increasingly, we know that by the time, it's an amazing fact I was looking at the other day, that by the time a person is 38 today, they will have had between 10 and 14 jobs. So there's a lot of transition going on in the lives of individuals. So as we look at trying to create pathways for our students, we have some very good ones, but we also know there are gaps. And we know that they're not perfect as we look at how we can align those to meet the needs. So over the next year, I'm going to ask that we look at all of our pathways, not just from high school into universities or high school into work, or from those who may be unemployed coming in our door, going through non-credit, making sure that we are not leaving people without the ability to cycle back through as they go through those multiple jobs, particularly between now and the time they're almost 40, so that they can know that they can count on Eastville College and all the colleges in the Dallas County Community College District to meet those needs. And then finally, there's our employers, or not finally, but our employers, as also very important that we increasingly look at how we align to meet their needs. In fact, we're having conversations now almost daily with employers as they're talking to us about how they can't be prosperous, how they can't grow, how they can't provide the types of services they need unless they're partnered with Eastville College and the other colleges within the Dallas County Community College District, because we're clearly the pipeline to meet those. In fact, already today, I met early this morning with an employer as we're talking about it. Dr. Conway and I will be meeting this afternoon later with employers as we're continually trying to make sure that alignment goes from good to perfect, and that they see us as with an intimate relationship as we work to solve their needs. And then economic development. You know, it really is ultimately a big part of our role. We don't often see it and we don't often tout it, but we are a key player in growing wealth within the community here in our region and throughout all of the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area, as we help support the needs of small business, large business, manufacturing, service industry, healthcare. Every aspect of that, we play an important role. But an important part of economic development is also quality of life, and making sure that we play a role there as well. And we do both in the economic development and quality of life role. So as we look at alignment, we've got to understand, and I think increasingly, what we're doing to contribute to the overall economic growth and development of our region and of not only the county, but all of North Texas. And so we're going to be investing over the next few months in really identifying what we can do to better support economic growth and development. To a great extent right now, we partner with virtually every chamber and economic development organization here in the region. But often we are basically as a resource in a brochure, not as a real service to make that happen. So we're going to be looking at what we can do to invest. So as we look at this going forward, I need your help in aligning with K-12, universities, career pathways, employers, and to support economic growth and development. The second one I want to talk about is personalization. Increasingly, everyone is coming to everything they do on their own terms, right? You don't believe me, stand in line at Starbucks and listen to the orders. You never, I don't even know how some of these people have memorized that stream of what they're getting, but it's a very personal type of engagement, and we want to have that in every aspect of our life. We want to have it in terms of not only the coffee we drink, but we want it in terms of every other aspect of how we engage. And one of the more important ones for us, of course, is education, as we look increasingly at how we provide that personalized experience. Now, we know that each of you in the room play a critical role in that. At commencement each year, students tell me over and over examples of where a faculty member, a professional support staff, or an administrator went out of their way to help them achieve their goals and objectives. But as we look at it, I think that we really have to continue to look at our organization in a very different way. How we provide the type of personalized experience that can do exactly what Dr. Conway was talking about earlier. Accelerate people through, give them exactly what they need, but be a resource to come back over the course of their lifetime to access us in a different way. And I want to talk about a few of these that we're having some conversations on right now throughout the district that we're looking at bringing in, and I need your help to make possible. Single Stop USA, I've talked about this a few times as we're looking at how to provide more personal and wraparound services to meet the needs of today's students. As if we're going to achieve our goal, and the goal that we're talking about of bringing everyone into college, we've got to help them overcome the barriers that are getting in the way. And there are many barriers, some of them financial, some of them personal, some of them relate to family issues and other things that are out there. So we're looking at partnering with a group called Single Stop USA. They're out of Harlem. They were founded by the Robin Hood Foundation. They've now spun off onto their own organization and are working with community colleges to meet this need. And the idea behind Single Stop is that life gets in the way often before education gets in the way of them achieving their goals and objectives. I was recently at Borough of Manhattan Community College, where they have been put in Single Stop. They screen 100% of the students going through their registration process on 52 different services that are available to them. These include food stamps. It includes transportation vouchers. It includes child care. It includes legal services. It includes help with taxes and many other services that students need. I was fortunate to work with Single Stop when I was in Louisiana, and we put it in place at Delgado Community College. We immediately, the first year, brought $7.9 million more to our students. We saw retention go up 2 standard deviations as a result of it. That we discussed. In fact, the retention of students that went through Single Stop were better than students that had no financial need whatsoever. We could make a difference. So we'll be looking at, starting this fall, to begin a plan to roll this out and work with colleges. And I need to tell you, it's not an add-on. It's really a reinvention of what we do, looking at 100% of the students. It's not just having academic needs, but having needs beyond the doors of our college. Let me also mention app development. I'm going to get some water here. One of the ways that we are increasingly personalizing services is by access to smartphones. How many of you with a handheld device, I can't imagine getting through a day without checking your bank account, without communicating with someone, without doing some type of transaction or business? I can't. It's constant. And as we look at our students, increasingly, they're expecting us to be able to provide the same sort of engagement. I often tell faculty, if you're not engaging and using the technology to engage their student when they're sitting in the class, they're going to be still looking at the phone anyway. So let's find a way to take advantage and engage them in that process. So we're going to be looking at some changes, even in our IT side, as to what we can do to make a more personal type of relationship, leverage technology in some very different ways, and I need your help and thoughts on how to make this happen. Competency-based. The idea that we've all known, most of us in education for a long time, that competency-based education works. takes a person where they are. It really focuses, as Dr. Holloway said earlier, with the end in mind, and that we can work toward that end, and at the same time save the student time, save them money, because we don't ask them to go back and relearn something that we can assess and determine that that competency has already been mastered. But we've had a problem in that the U.S. Department of Education has said, fine, you can do competency-based education, but students won't get Pell Grants if they're enrolled in competency-based programs. So, because most of our students need some type of financial assistance, almost all of higher education, only a couple of colleges have ever weighed in to do competency-based because they had to do it outside the financial aid structure. And so but something changed recently in Washington, and the U.S. Department of Education said, okay, it's time to allow colleges to engage in competency-based programs. We applied for 2 of the slots that they were granting. We're granting 30 slots nationally. We applied and were granted 2 of those slots to begin to work within the district to create competency-based programs and services to allow us to partner not only with business and industry, but give students options so that they can accelerate through faster, that they can meet their needs, and get Pell Grants at the same time that they're going through the program. So it's going to be a new model for us as we look at piloting this at a couple of our colleges initially, but really inventing a structure, because competency-based program says that we, one, have to really determine what students already know through direct assessment, grant that credit in that measure, and then help them plot a plan to earn the competency they need to master what's required in the degree. If you look at competency-based programs like Western Governors University, most of them operate not on a course tuition model, but by you pay so much for a semester and take all the courses that you want during that period of time until you master the competencies that you need. So we're going to be looking at this and looking for those that would be interested in working with us to develop competency-based programs so that we can do a better job of meeting the need of many of our business partners. I'll just give you one. We're talking with AT&T right now, who has 300,000 employees. At any one time, 90,000 are enrolled in their own competency-based programs within the organization. They want to know how we can partner with them to recognize and accept their competencies in so that students don't have to retake content in order to move toward a degree. I think we're smart enough to figure it out, and with the support now of being able to get Pell Grants, we can make that happen. The other is I've been just struck by a couple of things as I've been reading related to the many generations that we're living and working with in society today. You know, right now at the Dallas County Community College District, we have 5 generations of students enrolled all at the same time. No time in history have we seen anything quite like this. However, of that population, 72% are millennials or Generation Y and younger. Within 2 years, that's going to be 84% of our student body. And I was, earlier this week, I was at the Fairmont Hotel at an event put on by the Lumina Foundation where they had a speaker. They got up and said, you know, when you look at the attention span of Generation Y, he said, that's 12 seconds. I said, for Generation Z, it's 8 seconds. And so what we've got to do is begin to look a bit differently at how we're engaging in some of the expectations as we're working with our changing student population that's accelerating. And we're about to be hit in 2 years with the largest new group of a generation that we've ever been hit with. And so how are we preparing for that and thinking about it? Well, as we look, it turns out just by the natural offering of courses, we've been doing a bit of an experiment within the district that we didn't even know we were doing. Is that we've got courses of all types of different lengths and time frames and that are out there. And we began to look at what's occurring with learning based on the length of a course. And it turns out, particularly with our millennium population, that the shorter the course, the greater the learning that's occurring in the course. that is, as we, and that retention goes up by 2 full standard deviations when we shorten the time frame for learning to occur. And that they're significantly more likely to return for another semester if they've been successful, if they feel like that learning has occurred and going on. So as we look at how we're better meeting the needs of students and the new students that are coming in our door, I think we've really got to go back and take a look at how we're delivering and what we can learn from our own data that's already out there that's telling us some very important things about students, how they learn, the time frames in which they want to learn, and how to make that more robust and on their terms. So personalization is about a lot of different things. But ultimately, it's how do we move students through our doors so that they earn the credentials and the awards that they need in order to move on and be successful in their life and be able to pursue the American dream so that we don't lose them en route, but rather get them to success. And the next one seems to be the opposite of personalization. It's scale. And this gets back again to President Obama's announcement, because one of the things that everyone is saying, okay, it's important what we're doing in colleges, but we're not yet at the scale to make to be able to meet the impact that we need. Yes, we're serving a lot of students, but we have to serve a lot more. So what does that mean for us? What does that mean for us in Dallas County Community College District? Well, right now we enroll about, in any fall or spring term, about 80,000 students. Unduplicated over the course of the year, we're going to serve roughly 105,000 students. We enroll about 25,000 in our non-credit programs, and we now are about to enroll 30+ thousand in our adult education as we take that over. So a lot of people coming through the door. Let me kind of give you where I think we need to be looking. Instead of 80,000 credit in a term, we need about 160. That would get us closer to what we need to be looking at. Instead of 25,000 non-credit, about 150,000 non-credit needs to be there. Instead of 30,000 in adult education, we need to be looking at about 90,000 in adult education. So as we look at the type of scale that it's going to take for us to ramp up, we've got to be thinking differently. We've got to be engaging in some new ways of how we can leverage our resources in some very different ways. And I need your help to figure that out, because I think here we've got a lot of innovative thinking and a lot of ways of getting there. But we need to make sure that we do come up with a way, not just to bring more people in the door, but give more people with the awards that they need in order to be successful. To allow people, when they hit that restart button and come to Eastville College, that they will eventually leave here with a credential that has real value in the marketplace. We need to figure out technology. You know, we're still, in many cases, while we're leveraging technology, we're the only industry that's actually seen the costs go up as we've invested in technology, and that the number of people we serve often go down, where every other industry today has actually seen the opposite occur, serving more people at a lower cost. And I think we've got to figure some of that out. And it's not just about serving more, because if all we do is serve more and we lower the quality, then we haven't achieved the goal. It's really about doing better and leveraging technology and providing new ways to scale to meet the needs of our growing community. Because today, any individual not in college I can tell you, will be worse off. The odds of them going into poverty go up dramatically. And we know the impact that has. Where if we can get them out of their doors, we know their unemployment will be lower, their average salary will be higher, and they are more than likely to be a contributor rather than a taker in our society. I want to mention as we wrap up that I really believe that we are today, community colleges, the primary player in helping people achieve the American dream. We are the main route to the middle class. We're the route to prosperity, and we're a route to building quality communities. We need to make sure that we, in order to do that we are aligned with our employers, with our colleges, with our universities, and meeting those needs. We need to make sure that we're providing a personalized service in support of our students, and we've got to find a way to do it at scale. You know, I'm going to give one example in wrapping up today. We, since arriving here at Dallas County Community College District, I've been approached by a lot of people saying, help us, we've got a problem. One group that has come to me have been the school superintendents and the education providers in K-12 throughout the district saying, we've got a problem. We've got 37,000 children in our community who do not have access to early childhood programs because we don't have enough teachers to meet the needs. And here at Eastville College, we've got an outstanding early childhood program that's going meeting the needs of that community. They have asked, said, can we find a way to leverage what you're doing already and to help us solve this problem because we're 4,050 teachers short of what we need in order to meet the need today in Dallas County. So at a meeting with the superintendents, we began a conversation. And they said, you know, the problem is that we're only producing at the universities about 800 early childhood teachers a year. So we're getting further and further behind every year. We're not going to get there. Would you look at offering a 4-year degree in early childhood education to help meet that need? So we went to the board and brought in a number of community leaders. About 16 different organizations came to the table, school districts, superintendents, and others, and said, in order for us to solve the problem, we believe the best way to do it is through the Dallas County Community College District. So our board voted to allow us to go forward and pursue the offering of a baccalaureate degree in early childhood, a real game changer for us. And it gets to the issue of, okay, why do we need to be focusing on? Well, the first thing they said, the first problem is scale, saying that we've got to find a way to get scale at a very different level than what we're now doing because we're so far behind and the gap is so huge that we've got to accelerate this process. So we're going to work with them to find a way to scale up. I said the second thing that, and the way we'll do it is by leveraging all 7 of our colleges in a new way, as well as our 5 community campuses, so that access will cease to be a problem. The second thing they said is we've got to really tap into people much earlier in the process and get them engaged in early childhood programs. So I began meeting with the superintendents of schools. We're talking about a model where we're looking at identifying potential teachers while they're sophomores in high school. And engaging them in conversations and engaging them in dual enrollment. And then when they enroll at our colleges, we want to basically look at the work-learn model that I suspect you're already talking about here in a number of different ways, where students can go to class perhaps 2 or 3 days a week and then work in the school 2 or 3 days a week from their very first semester with us. And the superintendents are very interested in making that happen. And then finally, making sure that we're perfectly aligned with the needs. One of the challenges right now, as the superintendents are telling me, that people who are qualified on paper do not meet the real skills that they need to be able to deliver the programs and services. And in fact, my Superintendent Mike Miles tells me that all of his early childhood teachers currently in the classroom, he believes 450 are not qualified to do the job despite holding the credentials that we need. It's an alignment issue. So one example of where we will be focusing on doing a better job of aligning our program, personalizing our program, and scaling up to meet the needs of our community. As I look here, there are about 150 programs we need to continue to do the same thing with in order to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our individual students, our employers, and our community. And it's great to be here with such an important group of people, making such an important difference in the lives of our students and our community. Thank you for what you do.
I thank Dr. May. I know that you all found what he had to say very interesting. Some new information about the direction that this district is going, and you are the key. You're the key to making all of this happen. So I want to thank Dr. May for being here, for presenting this, and also I want to be sure that you know that Dr. Justin Lana, the Vice Chancellor for Governmental Affairs, is here also, so thank you for being here, Justin. I think that they have to go on to other things, meeting with other businesses and so forth, but we'd love to have you stay if you can. Again, we want to move on to our program, but I know that you'll want to reflect on the things that Dr. May said. I'm sure that after the meeting you'll be talking with each other and saying, did you hear him say this? Did you hear him bring that up? So it will be fun to reflect on your comments, Dr. May. We now are going to move to the part of our program where we honor our employees with longevity awards. And I'm going to ask Sharon Cook to come up to help us with those awards.
Good morning. As you heard Dr. Conway say earlier, we listened to your responses from the survey, and the award ceremony will be a little bit different, but we believe that the format that we have chosen that you will be pleased with. We are going to honor our 5 through 25-year awardees in a video presentation, and then we're going to break and allow our 30 through 45-year recipients to come forward so that they can receive their awards from Dr. Conway. But let's begin by honoring our colleagues. these awards recipients and what they'll be receiving and how we have honored them. Our 5-year recipients, and there were 30 of them, and they are all receiving a beautiful memo holder, and they'll be picking up their gifts at HR following our program. Our 10-year recipients will be receiving a nameplate, and there were 14 of those. We have a pen and pencil set given to our 15-year recipients, and there were 17 of those. Our digital photo frame recipient, Gloria Jackson, she's receiving for 20 years. And then our clocks will be going to our 25-year recipients. You know how I add all these up over the years? So I'm going to say that till the end. But please join me now as we take time to honor our recipients of 30, 35, 40, and 45 years. And if y'all will please join me up on stage. Gloria. Your fellow colleagues. All of you are important, and all of you deserve that important sign today. But to move the program along, we wanted to take time to specifically recognize the following recipients. Receiving our 30-year, and Dr. Conway, if you'll please come over. And receiving for the 30 years, they will receive a tree. There's a tree that they'll have in their honor, and they'll also have a brass plate indicating their 30 years of service to Eastville College and the Dallas County Community College. And our first one goes to Lucinda Gonzalez. Lucinda, if you'll stay over to the right, because we're going to get a big picture at the end. Our second-year, 30-year recipient is Arch Dye. Not sure if he was able to make it. Dr. Sinclair, well, Richard Sinclair, who retired last year, is receiving his 35-year award, and he's receiving a Kindle. So he'll be able to connect and read. You know, that's what all retirees do, have time to read and enjoy their Kindle. So we'll make sure that he gets it. But please, let's bring him. Receiving the 40-year awards, and for those of you who are new to the college, we have a wall of honor right there in the admissions lobby, and we have brass plates that have their picture and the years of service, 40 years that they've given to the Eastville College or the Dallas County Community College District total. So they will be honored with their brass awards, the plaques. And Larry, do we know when they'll be in? They're here. Okay, so we'll be having them set up. As soon as we know that they're there, then we'll send out an email so that you can see those. But we would like for them to also receive an honor to acknowledge their 40 years of service. So please join me in recognizing A.W. Massey.
Congratulations.
One of the perks when you've been here as long as I do, you get to give them a hug too. And then our next recipient, Marilyn Olive. And our third recipient is unable to be with us today, but I know that you would want him to know that how much you appreciate his service, John Barrett. finally, saving the best for last, after serving 45 years, started out as, okay, remind me, you were in the bookstore, right? Is that where you started?
Clerk in the business office at El Centro.
Clerk in the business office at El Centro, then came over here to the bookstore, correct? And has risen through the ranks. And we're going to lose Don's service to the college. And we'll be recognizing him at a retirement celebration on January 28th. You'll be seeing more information. But Don, after 45 years of dedicated service to Eastville College and the Dallas County Community College District, thank you for 45 years of service. And he's getting an iPad. And while they're doing that, let me remind you of the years of service. Our 5-year recipients, 30 of them, 5 years, 150 years. Our 10-year recipients, the 10 at 14, 140 years of service. Then we have our 15-year at 17 of them for 255 years. Our 20-year, 120, that was easy for me to add up. Our 25-year, we had 5 of those for 125 years. Our 30-year, we had 2 for 60 total. Our 35, we had 135. Our 340, total 120 years. And add Mr. Bainham's 45 years of service. I know we have a few mathematicians out there, but for those of you, that is 950 years of service to Eastville College and the Dallas County Community College District.
As we honor people for their years of service, their longevity, some people, amazingly, have decided to go ahead and retire. I don't know why, when you could continue to work at this exciting place. But some people did, and we certainly want to honor our retirees. So let's look at the retirees for this past year and semester. If these people will stand as I call their names, please. Don Bainham. Dottie Herndon. Herbert Jones. Betsy Joseph. Judith Rivas. And Jack Bioff. We will miss these people so much and miss their service to our college, but they have brought so much of their time and energy and expertise to the success of Eastfield and our students. We now are going to move to a part of our program where we have to say goodbye in a different way because we've had some employees who have passed away during the time of service at our college. So if you will join me in recognizing and honoring these people, please.
While we lost all 3 of our colleagues to cancer, They never lost the courage to fight. One wanted to continue her work in the business office, and the other two wanted to return to the classroom. Hopefully each one of you knew at least one, and for the many of us who knew all three, we are much better, and may they rest in peace.
It's always hard to go from a moment like this when we are remembering our friends and colleagues to the more upbeat period where we are wanting to get together and prepare for a new semester. But I think that as we end at this point and realize that the legacy that these three people left, focusing on student success and helping the students and you as their colleagues and this whole college to be a better place, is a very good place to start our new semester, so that we can carry on that legacy of contribution, connection, engagement, student success that they left us with. Their legacy will not be forgotten.